Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have two special guests on. Now, the reason why I think this is very special is because these are two sisters that are in business together, Arianne and Tara. And the reason why I think that that's special because sometimes you hear people say that, hey, you should never go in business with friends or family, but they are figuring out and they are making it work with their business, Earths Farmacy. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, everyone knows that you two are sisters. So can you tell us a little bit about, what was your background before starting, this type of business?
So I was in corporate and specifically insurance. And right before, going into business with my sister, I was a risk manager for a very large PEO, or it's a professional employer organization. And they had one of their branches right in Fort Mill. And so I managed their risk operations department for the team in Fort Mill. I had a team down in Florida, and then I had a couple of other employees speckled out across the US. So my main responsibility was ensuring that the organization, as well as all of the client companies, had the appropriate workers' compensation coverages in place, and all of our corporate insurance policies were in place, and then renewals, et cetera, all the minutia that goes with that. But that's what I was doing before heading full-time into Earths Farmacy.
Okay. And how about you?
So I've always worked with animals. Prior, I worked as a vet tech and a holistic vet. So my background is solely on animals, the healthcare, emergency care, and holistic approach to taking care of them. And then it just kind of evolved into doing Earths Farmacy with my sister.
So what was that thing, or I guess you say that aha moment that, you guys decided, hey, you know what, Earths Farmacy is where we should be spending our time? Like what brought that about?
From the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a while to get to where we are, but it started with my sister's youngest son back in 2012, right around the end of 2012, and he had developed severe skin and food allergies. So we were actually solving a problem for him, skincare, that he could use without having to keep him on medication lifelong, which at the time was really the only option given to her. And so when we started dabbling in it and making skincare for him and then making skincare for us, we had always known this was the path we wanted to go down. We just didn't quite know how to get there. And over time, it went from making it for our own families to friends and family. And then at that point, we just kind of like that itch that, you try to scratch, but it never goes away. Well, that's what happened to us. And so we were like, okay, when are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? And it just so happened that, I had parted ways with the company that I was working for at the beginning of 2019. And when that happened, I just was like, we're all in. Let's just do this. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. It's been long enough. We've done the research. We've done the research on the products and our vendors and all the things that were important to us. And it was kind of well overdue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. Now, take us back a little bit. Now, what was that experience like with, seeing your son go through the allergies and just like, I mean, how many different solutions or different options were recommended to you?
So I will say that it was very scary because he wasn't quite a year old at the time. And when we realized that he actually had a skin reaction and a food reaction at once. So we had to rush him to the hospital because his airway started to shut down. Wow. His skin was cracking open, and his whole body swelled, and it was very hot to touch. So in that moment, it was just whatever it takes to save his life is what we're going to do. And I had no idea that's what caused it. We were in a panic mode. So of course at the hospital, they immediately looked at him and started emergency care for him. And it's like, this looks like an allergic reaction. We are doing a ton of steroids to get the swelling down so he doesn't suffocate. And then once that went down, then they said, we're going to have to do antibiotics, topical and oral steroids. So from there, we then immediately got an appointment to a specialist. And the options were, for me, it was an eye-opener because we grew up very holistic. So it was an eye-opener because it wasn't, well, this is the immediate care. We have to do steroids. We have to do antibiotics to get him under control. And then these are options. It was, we have to do that. And the long-term options are steroids. We can do injections frequently, and we can do topical, and we can do antibiotics when he has a flare-up. That was pretty much what even his pediatrician had said. And she's wonderful, but it was just, it's an eye-opener of what is taught in medicine and how it's very challenging to get alternative therapies for long-term preventative care. So that was definitely an eye-opener. And I just thought, okay, short-term, absolutely, he needs it. And medicine has its place. Long-term, he doesn't. The side effects of long-term steroids was just, it's horrible. And it's not something that I ever crossed my or my husband's mind of, this is what we will consider. Just, it wasn't on the table for us. So I think from there, I started looking at some different organic products on the just regular, going into like your Targets, things like that online. And that was an eye opener because it says organic. When you flip the label over, it says organic, and there's a laundry list of crap that is in a ton of organic products. And I just thought, okay, the average consumer is not going to think to look over the label. They're just going to see this beautiful label on the front that says organic. It's good for you. Let's grab it and put it on our kids. And when I went to my sister, I was like, one, it's incredibly expensive. So how can the majority of Americans afford to have this type of alternative? And two, it has a lot of junk in it.
Yeah, I tend to find that very true myself. Like whenever I'm looking at like labels, what I always tell my wife is, usually if I flip over a label and if I start coming across things that I can't pronounce, it probably isn't organic.
Right. Exactly. And that's what we found. So I just started dabbling. I'm like, well, let's go back to our roots. And our mom, I went to our mom and I'm like, let's figure something out. And just from how she was raised and how they raised us, she was like, well, we want to try these plant oils. And so I started making diaper rash cream for him. I started making cream to put on him. I went to my sister, and it kind of unfolded at our kitchen table.
Wow. Now, how old is your son now?
He is 8, and he has not had an outbreak since.
He has beautiful skin. Beautiful skin.
Wow. That is an amazing journey. Now, I guess as you kind of built this business over the years, what was that journey like? Because it's one of those interesting things when I talk to different entrepreneurs where, like most of us, like, the technical side of your product or the technical side of your service that you offer. But when it comes to building a business around that, what was that journey like?
Ooh, exhausting. And it still is. And also rewarding. Knowledge is such a powerful thing, right? And so many things that we do in life. Building a business is definitely the more you know about that and the more you experience and you have some of those setbacks and those failures, and you learn and you grow from that. So it has been a journey. I mean, it's been really great, challenging at times, very challenging, because not only, especially in skincare, are you learning about raw ingredients and how they mix and blend and what that end result's going to look like and how you need to tweak. And, formulation is not always the easiest thing to do. But then you also have all of those other components of marketing and testing and, getting yourself out there and hearing the good and the bad, not all products are a one size fit all. Our product is not going to tailor and fit to every single person. It can, but not everyone's in the mindset of holistic care. So it's challenging, but it's fun. The creative part is like amazing.
It is.
Like if we could live in the creative part and just, you know, have like a team of people to do everything else, which one day we'll get there. That's like dream, right? But yeah.
I would say that is something that I think is very common. Unfortunately, I think not enough people, you know, honestly talk about that, because even for myself and just when I think about my own business, like I enjoy like, you know, the finance and the corporate finance consulting that I do with small businesses and startups. But there are some aspects of the business that it's like, I really don't enjoy doing that. And when I've had conversations with different entrepreneurs on the show, like some of them have even said like, you know, if I would have known it would entail all of this, I would have either brought on a co-founder, or some of them have even said, I probably would have just kept my job. I was like, oh, wow.
Well, I don't blame them, because that's part of for so many years why we were hesitant to jump, you know, because there's resources cost. There's a cost to that, whether it's time, whether it's money, and you don't always have it all figured out. You know, there's a huge learning curve to being in business for yourself.
And speaking of that learning curve, so I'd like to understand, like, what was one, I guess, lesson that, you know, you had to learn, or one challenge that, you know, you faced where you're like, you know what, we got to figure this out if we're going to move forward?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
I think for me, what really stands out is the awareness and educating people who may not know the holistic approach, may not be open to a holistic approach, especially in skincare, because you do, I mean, if you go into any store, you're going to see an aisle full of skincare. Yeah. And you are, when you're in that field, you are definitely competing, whether your product is similar or not, you're competing with an ocean of skincare lines. And with our product, because it is a lifestyle, because it is holistic, the way we source is different than the majority of skincare products out there. I think that is something that was definitely an eye-opener and a challenge as well, of how do we educate that aspect.
That's true. And we infuse ours with Reiki and crystal healing energy. And we will find that there are people out there that know about that, you know, or they know enough to say, oh my gosh, I've heard about this, tell me more. But there are also a ton of people out there that, you know, approach us and they say, well, what does that even mean? Like, how does that help me in my skincare? It's a great question, and we're thrilled when they ask that. But I would say, yes, that has probably been the ongoing, you know, how talking about how we're different and what that means and why it's so important in not just our brand, but the value to them as a either consumer or potential consumer.
Gotcha. Well, I hope you are going to be thrilled by this question, because I am not sure what that is. So please educate me and the audience on what that is.
Yep, absolutely.
So Reiki, it is universal life force. What it does is it takes the energy from the universe, the earth, and you have a practitioner, which such as myself, that we actually take that energy and then we move it through, I move it through my chakra system, and then, which we all have a chakra, 7 major chakras. So I move it through my chakra system, and then I bring it out through my hands, that energy, and I place it on the product, or if it's a person, on the person. And that energy helps to balance your energy system. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that when we have, whether it's, you know, chronic sore throats or just a cold, our energy system is off. And that's what's making us vulnerable to becoming sick. So what we do is we go in and we restore that energy system to help balance it, to build your immune system.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about the crystals in just a moment, because it's very similar. And with the crystal the crystal structure, how they're made, our bodies actually contain many of those minerals that are in crystals, which is why with the crystal healing, that's on more of a vibrational level, and because we have this very similar structure, that also helps in the healing, just all, whole body. And one of the things with skin that people either aren't aware of or don't really acknowledge as often is that usually when we have a skin condition, it is because there's something else going on inside of our body that's causing a breakout or a rash or a reaction. And so with the Reiki and the crystal healing, that infusing that into our products really helps start the process on the skin level, which also is a cellular level, for helping with rashes and acne, breakouts, severe dry skin, etc.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't know if part of it is because I spent some time. Well, I would say as a kid, I spent a lot of time in the hospital. Whether it was because of I was born where one of my I guess you say ear canals is smaller than the other one, so I spent a lot of time seeing ear specialists, and then also being born with a heart murmur, so spent a lot of time seeing cardiologists. And one of the things that that I learned from that experience of spending so much time in the hospital, when the doctors would kind of explain to me or kind of break it down to me as a kid of there are certain things that your body needs, or let's say if they look at it from a chemically, like there's certain nutrients that your body needs. If you take one of those nutrients out, your body can still function, but it won't function properly. You'll start to see all of these problems happen. And it was like, and fortunately, it was a doctor who studied medicine, but wasn't trying to really push a ton of medicine on me. Wanted me to kind of learn, like, you're going to have to live the rest of your life and figure out how to find solutions. And medicine just won't fix it in the long term. So you're going to have to find better ways to still be able to function. So what we have to do is figure out, how do we make sure you're getting the right nutrients back into your system so it can function properly? So I think that's what I got from it.
Yeah. Yes. That's a huge piece of it. Absolutely. And by no means are we saying, like, if there's an underlying issue, our products aren't going to cure that. But when you add additional energy healing pieces to it, it helps to balance the pH in our bodies, and it starts with our skin, because that's what we're doing, skincare. So exactly what you're speaking to.
Okay, awesome. So I do follow along with it. So awesome. Now, speaking of that, with so much of the holistic approach that isn't known, do you guys usually share different content or different educational resources to help people understand that, whether that be on your website or social media?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do write, we blog, and that is on our website. And we will post like more small clips on Instagram, Facebook, and then direct people to the website to read more about whatever it is that we're talking about, as far as whether it's an ingredient that we're sourcing, the Reiki piece, the crystal piece. If it's, sometimes we'll talk about the communities in which we source the raw materials from, and how that helps to rebuild those communities and provide them with, their education and clean water, etc. As far as directing to other resources, we haven't done that yet. It's a great, now that you say it, it's like the light bulb goes off, like ding, ding, ding. That's something that we will actually start considering doing. Great. Yeah, that's a great idea, because there's a lot of resources out there where people can connect with and just learn more. So, but the main place that you would find that would be probably Instagram. That's kind of where we shoot everything out of, and then our blogs. because we love to write about everything we're doing.
Awesome. Awesome. So now let's talk about your products. So what are some of the like the top selling products that, you know, when people think of Earth Pharmacy, like this is the product they say, I can't live without this product?
Oh, so our bamboo
Yes.
body wash. It's a soap bar. And that is, I actually just had like an order come through the other day, and a lady ordered like 5 of them. She's like, I can't get enough of these, and I hate it when they run out. I'm like, that I am all about that. That is fine. It's a great one. The blend is wonderful. We didn't know it at the time, but the blend has kind of a sweet, musky smell. So women love it and men love it, which is great. And it has Dead Sea mud in it, which is wonderful natural exfoliant. But then again, we talked earlier about like essential minerals that our bodies need, which Dead Sea mud contains. So when you're cleansing, you're getting into those pores, you're getting all the dead, skin cells off so that the new ones can come in. And then you're also helping to replenish the body of some of those trace minerals that we lose every day throughout the day just by getting up and, being functional. So that's one that sells a lot. Yeah. And our satin line, which is
all of them. Yes. On our satin line, all of them sell.
It's a butter. It's a body butter. We whip it. And we make everything from scratch. So we get all of the raw materials, and we formulated all of our own. Every product we have created and formulated. So we whip this body butter, as I think most people would understand what that is. And we call it satin because that's how your skin feels after you use it. It's like a silky satin blanket, and it's beautiful, and it lasts all day, and it absorbs fairly quickly into the skin. And it's just packed full of just, I would say, hydration and nutrients that just get straight to the skin. And it's fantastic if you have severely dry skin, if you have normal skin. It has a great way of balancing so you're not overly oily. And if you're super dry, it gives you just enough moisture.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Now, so what's your favorite product?
I know what mine is. You go first.
I love them all. I have to say, I love the bamboo. That's the bamboo bar soap. I absolutely love it. It is by far, I would say, my favorite. And the silk. Those are a toss-up. I love the silk. I love the jasmine and orange blend that's in it. And it literally leaves my skin feeling silky. My kids get into it all the time. They love it. And my husband loves it, and he's finicky about everything. And he's like, hey, you want to do my feet? Do you want to do my legs? Like, but don't tell anyone. Like, sure.
Now everyone knows.
Right? I have a favorite combo because, and that's another thing about our line, like we're not fussy people, we're not really high maintenance. We're busy moms. We both have husbands. Like we got a lot of stuff going on. So we need to get in and get out and do the things that we need to do. And self-care is very important. So that was the other thing we did when we built our line. How can we help people, give them the things that they need to help, nutritiously for their bodies, for their skin, but not necessarily always spend a whole lot of time doing it. If they want to, great. But if you need to get in and get out, that's also great. So my favorite combo is the rosemary mist shower wash. Oh, it's so invigorating and it's just delightful. And then before I get out, I do the silk.
That's great. Yeah.
And then that way I don't have to moisturize afterwards, but I'm exfoliating, I'm hydrating, like all in one shot. And then I'm off doing everything else I need to do. So that's my favorite combo.
That is a good one.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think I'm very interested now to know, okay, where can I buy the products?
So yes, so we have an online store right now, obviously with COVID. Prior to COVID, we were doing lots of events locally in Charlotte. So you could check us out, at some of the events. But right now it's just online, and that's at Earths with an S Earths-Pharmacy with an F.com.
Okay, gotcha. And then what's the tag name on social media that they can find you?
Yep. So both Instagram and Facebook is at Earths Farmacy.
Awesome, awesome. Now, before we wrap up, there is one question that I'd like to ask each of you, that I ask every guest that comes on. Now, when you think back to your journey in building your business, what is, and I know you may have many, so this may be a little bit of a challenge. What is one lesson that you have learned that you would say, you know what, other entrepreneurs should keep this in mind?
I would say for me, never give up, especially if it's your passion, because there's going to be so many hiccups that are going to make you question your journey. And it's going to make it very easy for you to just say, I'm done. Let's go the easy route. And I would say for that, for every obstacle, look at it as a learning experience, not a failure, not a stopping point. And just don't give up. Keep pushing through. One day you will see the light.
That's good. I like that one. I like that one. Mine is definitely, hands down, stay in your own lane. Don't pay attention to what the other drivers are doing, because I did struggle with that, especially with competitors. Like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? And I spent a lot of time comparing, and I wasn't staying in my own lane in the very beginning. And that was something that I had to say, it's great to know what your competition is. You need to know that. At the same time, build what you're building. Don't worry about all the other minutia and the noise and the passing cars. Stay in your lane, be focused on your goal, but just be aware of your surroundings. So I would say, yeah, just don't compare, stay in your lane, know what's going on around you, but continue your path. Be confident in your journey.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, I think that is very great advice. And thank you so much for coming on to talk about, your business, and to also share your insight. And definitely my wife and I are excited to continue watching to see how your journey goes. And also looking forward to picking up the bamboo product too. So I'll have to go on the website and order some of that today. So thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.
This has been such a pleasure.
Wonderful,
And
yes.
like, I said earlier, we love what you and your wife are doing, and we're sharing it with all the people we can share it with to help spread the word. And we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. You are very welcome. Thanks for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on all social media platforms as the Business Talk Library.